Bubs, what's up, man? You look fresh. You look rested. You look happy, man.
I'm fresh, I'm rested, and I'm happy. Uh, I'm just chilling.
You look you
Yeah,
look you look cleaner than you've looked in years. The beard is gone. Are you skinnier? Have you lost weight?
no, I've maintained everything. I'm in fighting shape right now, just in case, just in case you
Okay.
just.
Okay, about that. All right. So everybody thinks you like, and I know you're done because we talked about this, or at least I think you're done. But now everybody's coming out of retirement. Brandon Jacobs. Did you hear about Brandon Jacobs? He wants to come back as a defensive end. Tim,
What
Tim Tebow came back as a tight end.
that's not going to be as easy.
We had talked a little bit. This is actually the first time we've talked. We didn't talk on the phone really since you retired, and we talked a few months ago for people listening. And
No, you called me when you were about to retire. You were like hiking a mountain. I don't know. You randomly called me like, "Yeah, man, I just like bear crawled this mountain and I threw these logs." I'm like, "Cool, dude. What's up?" Yeah, I'm just kind of like, I'm not feeling it right now. I think I'm good to go. You remember this?
yeah, I do faintly. I mean, it might have been a drunk dial.
No, it was midday. I mean,
Oh, it could have been a drunk dial because when you know it's time to go, you just live your life. And I guess I'm wondering though.
it's actually insane that part you just said. You live your life. Like I
Yeah,
say yes to things that you're like, ah.
you were like for so many years, you're just so regimented, and there's this like invisible fence around you, like a dog. And then one day the fence is gone, and once you go past that fence, you realize that A, you didn't need that yard to be so small, and B, it's going to be really hard to go back to that invisible fence life, which is why I figure, like, or I wonder if you're feeling like there's no chance I could go back and do that. And it's not Sunday, it's just the bullshit Monday through Sunday. It's like the BS through the week, for me
Yeah,
at least.
the old saying was they didn't pay us to play in the games; they paid us to practice.
Right.
That's the toughest part. Right now, I have no thoughts of going back. Uh, I can't. My knee is my knee's pretty jacked up. Like I could go out and run right now and it'd feel great, but if I were to compound, 5 days, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then you get back into that process of trying to get the swelling out of your knee, all that stuff. And I don't feel like dealing with that. Like you said, I've gone past the fence, and I've been kind of institutionalized with routine and all this stuff that I've been through for the last 12 years in New England. You know how regiment is there.
Yeah.
That like it's been kind of nuts. Like, what do I do? This, that.
yeah. What am I doing today? I don't.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, I need a schedule. What time's breakfast?
It's true. I mean, I have little Sammy over here giving me red schedules. We got red schedule Fridays. Let's go over. I want to go over the week. Let's go. I need a red schedule. But it's just, it's definitely, it's a new chapter, and it's you're nervous and you're excited, and it's all those types of things all build up in one. And I mean, I think that's just in any transition of anything, and that's just how I felt when I was coming into the league. Being a guy that wasn't, playing that position, having to transition, like, am I going to make the team? Am I going to do this? Am I going to So now I'm in that same kind of realm of, all right, now I'm going to TV. I'm doing, inside the NFL. We got the production company. I'm not a crazy vet in this. It's new. So I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited to go out and try things that I've never got to do and explore other passions like you're doing.
Yeah. Well, no, but it's so true though that you're probably going to be really good at this because you've been adaptable your entire career, like mentally and physically being able to play different positions. I mean, I can't wait to talk about the defense stuff, but I mean, like you've done everything. You haven't had like a roadmap laid out in front of you. You've probably had your own roadmap in your head, but there's never been like a predictability for you in your career. You've always had to hit the curveball. So this is another curveball.
Yeah, I never really had the roadmap. I was always focused on what was on my plate at that time. There were so many things I was having to deal with at that, like being drafted to a team as a receiver when you have Randy Moss, Wes Welker, Greg Lewis, they just traded for, Joey Galloway. You start trying to play roadmap game, play numbers games. Oh, what am I? Then you lose focus the task at hand of trying to just get better that day and compound good practices for coaches. So I can never really think ahead like that. This is the first time I'm having to do that. I'm having to look into the future and plan, because I don't have something just given to me and say, here, this is what you are. This is what you got to do. Now let's go see what you can do. Now this is up to me, to make that map. There's not the map already, made.
I think it's a cool time that you picked to retire too, because Jeff Fisher told me something really smart. He said, you don't want to retire in a J month. You don't want to retire in January, and you don't want to retire in like July. Like, guys do it all the time, and when it's right for you, it's right. But the point being that, like, you want to think it through, and you don't want to be like hanging on and not sure towards camp, because that's a really weird place to be. And I just think you picked a pretty good time. And the summer's a nice time to ease into it, because there's shit going on. We're out of the pandy now, at least as far as like bars and sporting events are concerned. So you're going to be able to like be social and see people. The winter's weird. The first fall's weird. Like, there's no question there's going to be quiet moments where you're like, this feels weird.
I already feel a little weird right now, like with my body muscle memory, kind of like, shouldn't I be in like really good shape right now?
That's what I'm saying.
Instead of drinking a beer on a Tuesday, which this is a passing camp day. What are we doing? What are my hands doing? What do I do? Like,
I got so good at drinking 1 or 2 beers in retirement. In when I played, it was 1,000 or 0.
Exactly.
And it's just like, you're living a life of moderation. I've said this before. I think you're right, probably recently on this podcast. It was like, when you retire, you have to be okay with a lifestyle that's right in the middle. And I'm using my hand to just go right in front of my face. But when you played, it could be either up here, way above my head, or down here, way below. Like, your worst Monday is awful. Your best Monday, you'll never have that again, but you won't have the terrible one either. You just have to get used to being in the middle. So it's a weird feeling.
That's what Freddie Taylor told me once. You remember Fred Taylor?
Oh, yeah.
Beast monster.
Oh, yeah.
Well, my rookie year, he was in New England. When you're in a rookie, you're sitting there and you're all over the place mentally, like new kid, I don't know. You may not have been in the same situation. You were the second pick.
Yeah.
Draft,
but
different expectations.
Exactly. And you said something earlier that struck me, was like, you never had the roadmap. I had a big roadmap, a lot of pressure. You were like, fuck it, let's live today, which is a great way to be too. You don't have the security I have, but they're very different, like coming to the league lives, you know what I mean?
Back to Freddie T, I was sitting there as a little rookie, like I'd get up early and I'd go to the hotel. You remember the hotel we stayed at over in Foxborough?
Yeah, I do.
By like the Piccolo Pete's.
Barely.
I would sit outside and before the bus, and Freddie T came out, and I would ride with him every once in a while. And he goes, "Hey, young buck, I can see you're stressed out." Freddie T's like calm, cool, collect dude. He's just like a real cool like uncle. Like, is always got like the best advice you ever needed. He looks at me and he goes, there's gonna be a lot of highs and a lot of lows. You just got to stay even keel, young buck.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's the thing we talked about in the ride. It was nuts.
Yeah,
but I remember thinking about that the whole time. Like, there's gonna be a bunch of highs, which you're so correct on in football. I mean, the highs are high and the lows are super low. But I was at a place, as you know, like you didn't really have time to think of like the successes you had or the failures, because you were moving on the next week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I kind of adapted to that, and hopefully I bring that and translate that into, my life after football.
It's kind of cool though, the retirement part of like, you die without actually dying. Everybody says all the nice shit about you that if you got hit by a truck, they would say. But they say it like right in front of you. And that's a cool thing, dude. Not a lot of people get to do that. How did you feel about the outpouring, man? Was there anything unexpected, like an unexpected like message you got from an opponent, somebody that you respected or something like that?
No, I mean, a lot of it went to a lot of BS, instantly, like all the hall talk and stuff. So like there's a lot of hate on that. And, you had like, I had some cool dudes reach out, and I'll leave it between that. I'm not going to name drop, but you know what I mean? Like, it was cool to have that and to see the team and hear what, like, what coach said and what Mr. Kraft said, RKK, and being part of one organization my whole career. And, you know how it is there. You don't necessarily get the compliments and like this and that, and to hear, Bill say what he said at that level, that's kind of like, if Bill gave you like a compliment or a pat on the butt, like during the week, it made your week.
Oh man, you get like you feel tingly. I feel tingly, Bill. Thank you.
I know. Giddy like a little kid. I do that to like my last year.
Yeah.
I'm 12 years at this place. I've spent 12 years with this guy. When you joke around, you kiki with them.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that made my day.
Oh yeah. And then you're like, I better not fuck up in practice because he's gonna think I was just being a dickhead in the hallway. Exactly. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
And damn, like when I got there late in my career, I was like, I'm kind of I like to have fun, and I was afraid to even joke with him sometimes, but I couldn't help it. He's so fucking funny to me.
You got there where you could laugh, like. When you're a young guy that's farmed there, like there's a lot of things that you would want to laugh at, but you'd have to look around the room and see who was laughing to see if you could laugh. Like if like Steve Neal was laughing, he's been there for 8 years. I can't laugh yet, but if I saw like Kevin O'Connell, the second year guy laughing, all right, maybe I could laugh a little.
What's the meanest thing he's ever said to you? Because the one thing I always say to people is like, it's very effective, the tactic of having everybody meet in the big room on Monday. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you don't, because you didn't play for any teams that did it the other way. It's like you come in, you lose, the head coach says, we'll get them next week, break down to offense and defense. Not in New England. Everybody, including Tom Brady, including Dante Hightower, including yourself, Bill, right down to Ted and the strength coach, they're all in there just staring at the film.
Scouts. We have regional scouts in there. Sometimes you have a coaching staff from another team.
Like NFL legends coming back. They're bringing alumni in to just watch you shit the bed on.
I remember Kobe coming in there one time. It was
to watch film.
Yeah, he came into a practice or like into like the team meeting.
Oh God, you're like, please don't put the bad cut up.
Oh my God, Bill tube, low lights.
Yeah, what was the worst low light session for you of all time?
When I used to like fight in practice or something, like me and Gilmore, I got in a fight with Gilmore. He puts it on and he'll just sit and rewind it like 45 times with silence. And then when he stands up, there's like a little guy, there's a guy that his job is to go run and turn the lights on. So it's like majestically turning off.
Oh my God, dude.
And then when he sits down, the guy goes and turns it off. You know what I mean?
They light from the bottom up. It's like perfect. Yes.
So he sits and rewinds it like 45 times. And then he goes and he stands up and he goes, like, what the fuck are we doing? we can't have this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just going on and just ringing me like, you know what, Edelman, you over here think you're a tough guy, just getting on me in front of the team and like really, but I think low key he loved it.
He did love it. I think he was entertained by it. I think he was entertained by, God forbid anybody ever got caught sleeping in the meeting. You could almost see a gleam in his eye. I don't know which one it is. Yeah, gleam. I'm an idiot. But yeah, he'd see like one of the rookies like nodding off, and everybody, I feel like I wanted to save those kids so bad. I would drink so much coffee. I lived right behind the stadium, so I could never be late. And I drank 5 cups of coffee a day. I hate caffeine. I was afraid.
Yeah, no, I was there for so long. Like I used to sit back and I dream. I was like, it was entertainment by the time I was older. I would sit and watch and like, oh, he's gone. And then Bill would go get, you know what I mean? It just, but it's really something to be said when, a coach, I don't know how it is, like you said, in other places, but this guy every day for 45 to 50 minutes, every day would break down 3 phases of the game. And he could call each phase of the game like it was like he was a coordinator. And he's called plays for each phase of the game. So like, I didn't really realize that until like I heard guys like you come in and say like, this is crazy that you guys meet every morning this long. And he's putting on a 60 play cut up that we all have to watch. Like, I didn't realize that. That was
accountability though.
Yeah.
It's the accountability because
like if I mess up and the defense, like if I mess up on a side adjustment and, if the defense is like paying attention, because sometimes guys are just over doodling and shit, but, if they're paying attention, then like you get embarrassed because you want them to feel like, you know what I mean? So like you said, it's that accountability that he always holds to everyone, not just.
And everybody's afraid the same way. And you feel so stupid when you mess up, but everybody in the room knows. I'll say this about New England, man. Some of the best, most like accountable teammates, some great leaders, like the guys in that locker room. Like you know, I'll never like blow the organization. I really respect the organization. I'm never gonna like be that guy, but the locker room was amazing, man. And I don't think anybody was trying to screw up ever, you know. But when you screw up, you're gonna get fried in the big room. And it made me feel better to realize that probably when I screwed up, everybody felt just glad it wasn't them. You know what I mean? That was the prevailing emotion in the room. It wasn't like, fuck you, Chris. I was never watching you. Like after that Pittsburgh game, I guess you dropped a punt, and I was like, oh my God, he's yelling at Julian.
Oh, you remember that?
Oh, yeah. I was like, oh my God, he's yelling at like one of the best players.
It happened so many times. I don't even remember that.
Because you're calloused. But I just was like, I feel bad for him, not mad at him. How could I be mad at Julian? He's trying his best. But it is that fear and accountability of, is it going to be me?
No, there was never really like, I was joking around when I was saying like it was entertainment. Like you said, like those guys do a really good job of bringing good guys into the program. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the Devin McCourtys, the Matthew Slaters, the Jason McCourtys, the Dante Hightowers. Like these dudes are like not just some of the best football players, but some of the best men I have been around. Yeah. Like bar none, like family guy, professional, in the community. Like these guys do it all, and they do it all at a very high level. Like, you know, it's something to be said. Like, I don't know what it is at other places. Like when guys come in and you can see it, you know, a Joker, if he comes in, he's not really shaking, you know, he gets into shape. He gets into line because he sees that, like, you know, these other guys, we're all doing this too. So,
but also the reputation of like you're opting into something and you're not needed there. No one is needed there. There was one guy, in my opinion, that was absolutely needed there, and he left. But everybody's expendable. So when you opt into that situation, whether you're like a vet like me who was pretty good and now I'm like at the tail end of my career, or a Hall of Famer that, you know, that's in his 15th year, or a guy on his second deal. Like, you're probably going to you might not get your best ball because scheme matters and all that stuff. And, you know, you're part of a team, but you're going to get your best effort out of that guy because he already knows what time it is walking in that building. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's all I knew.
What about defensive players? Because, like, I feel like everybody thinks about you and Tom and your friendships with guys on offense and that sort of thing. You're competitive as hell. You talked about fighting with Gilly. You know, I know you're scrappy and it can get ugly on the field sometimes, but was there a rivalry with a guy in New England that made you better early, like a DB that you guys just went at it nonstop and he helped you?
Yeah, there was a few. My rookie year, there was Will Height. I used to go up against a lot. Jonathan Will Height. He got me better. He was the starting star at the time. And then, you know, Talib came in, and I was going into like, you know, 4 years in. He was a vet, like kind of a vet, but he was in his prime. I got to go against Talib, and he made me better, learning against those kind of savvy guys that sit back and they wait for you, and they're trying to play the quarterback and you with the eyes in the backfield, like learning how to attack those guys. Those guys were he was awesome for me. And then the next guy I got was Revis. And when Revis came, then you're seeing like a little bit like an insanely balanced, always on good feet, like guy that knew route concepts, that knew like down and distance. So like you could never be sloppy with the guy like him, or he would just eat you up. And, you know, every day in New England, we did one-on-ones. You remember that.
Yeah.
So it's not like we don't see these guys and you're going iron on iron. Like I wanted to go against the best. And then eventually, you know, Gilmore got there and he made me better. So I had a lot of good corners, you know, that helped me, you know, develop in the player that I got to be, because, you know, we practice hard there and we do one-on-ones. And, you know, I would say those guys. A guy that I had a rivalry with a lot when I was younger, Pat Chung, me and him used to like fight every day.
Oh, tough guy though. Tough guy.
We'd go in and I had to go block the force and like 9-on-7s and, you know, Chung.
Yeah,
Chung.
Dude, I know Chung.
You don't know a young Chung, no.
Okay, Chung. But I will tell you, He was the first guy when I got to New England that was like, all right, man, let's hang out. Like, you're my guy. Like, so we go out drinking or hanging out.
Yeah.
And I'll always appreciate him for that. Like, he was a very welcoming cat. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's that Jamaican in him.
Yeah, dude. He's just happy, dude.
He's like, hey, man, what's up?
He's super happy. He's a great dude. What about having a brand in New England? That's a tough one, right? Because we bust each other's balls. You always bust my balls about, oh, Chris, your podcast or your charity. Like, I love your charity. And I bust your balls about all your stuff. But like, really though, we do have brands. I don't think we think about it like intentionally, this is going to be my brand, but like we speak out on things we want to talk about. We are entertaining, funny people. You're way more popular than me, but you also played in New England your whole career. So like, that's kind of the juxtaposition of I'm going to be a fucking movie star one day and I'm playing in New England. Was Bill okay with that the whole time? Like, because you actually were able to kind of be your own guy.
Yeah. I was the first generation in that locker room with social media.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I was a rookie, our rookie group were the only ones on the cell phone in the locker in between meetings and stuff. Other guys were, shooting the shit and, talk, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now I'll reverse it. Like, when you get older, I was the only guy that wanted to talk with people and everyone else was in their lockers, on their phone. That's just how it became. So we had to get, like with that whole thing in my world and ballpark, just growing up with it, I started making little pieces of content because there's a certain standard and there's a certain way you have to handle yourself in the media when it comes to football in New England. That I know that. Coach doesn't want any distractions and he doesn't want any kind of like, billboard material. Like he wants you to focus on what you have to focus on every single minute of the day. Like he makes you think about football like that. Like every decision I made for 12 years was like, is Bill going to get pissed at me for this or not?
It's like having another dad.
It's like having another dad. So social media was a way for me to kind of, like you said, establish a personality or a brand or develop content. And it all started, we started making little dumb YouTube videos and Bill had a few rules when this started coming in. Like I remember he was My Face and Spacebook and like.
Yeah, what was he calling? He intentionally screw up the name. Snap Face.
Yeah, Snap Face.
Snap Face.
Yeah, like he would say this.
We get it, Coach, you hate it.
Yeah. It's fucking Snap Face. Like, I don't know what this does. Like he says, like he doesn't know what it does, but he clearly knows.
You know what it does, Coach.
So, he had a specific rule set on what you could do. You remember that you can't have anything in the facility.
Can't take pictures in the facility. Guys screwed that up all the time. I was always like, yo, you just got here. One of the first rules, I'd watch guys come in, like just in my 1 year. I was like, the first rule was no pictures in this mother. There's no windows on this building. Why would you think they want anything to get out?
Yeah.
There's no windows.
You couldn't have any. He said in the parking lot. So like on the facility, I think.
A dude did a selfie. A rookie did a selfie of I'm at home at Patriot Place or something like that. A nice little benign post. That shit was taken down so fast.
Well, I remember I would walk by. I would be in my locker, just in between meetings, and you see a picture for someone in the locker room, and you go look like, what the. Is this guy gonna die? What does he think? You remember what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you mean.
And then you go, and then all of a sudden you'd see little bears walk in.
Oh, bears!
Yeah, just walk in. Hey, Bill wants to see you.
Never good news. Never good news. He has the internet too, man.
I love bears. Though.
But what are you going to do with all that? Because you've built a really nice brand for yourself. And I hate even saying the word brand because I'm not saying it. Like, brand to me sounds like maybe a little fake. Like, this is who you are. Like, you're creative. You have fun. You're funny. You can also be hardworking and badass on the field. And I think you're going to parlay it into something great. What's next?
Well, I'm doing Inside the NFL
on
Showtime, which I'm excited for that. That'll be fun to be on that historic show on a platform that I've been watching my whole life. And then I also partnered up with Viacom, CBS, and Paramount for a studio deal for my production company. So we got something in developments right now, which I'm really excited about. Just kind of creating content. It all went from like creating these little YouTube videos and then going into Instagram and this stuff. And now this is a new platform and a longer platform for us to create our content. And, it's fun, when you start doing those types of things and you go from the very beginning and you shoot all this content, and then you get in the, the editing room, and you bring it down and you break it down, and at first you think this thing's going to be terrible. I don't know why we did this, that. And then you shape it, you mold it, and then you see the finished product and how you guys changed it. I mean, it gives me a high. So, it's fun, and it's something that I've always liked doing, and we're going to see where this takes me.
It also goes to show you that a lot of the content you see is not how it came out of the pipe. Like,
No.
We'll do some stuff here, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm looking at other podcasts. Like, you're not as great as I thought, because like I know we're having trouble to get this all spliced together. I was gonna say, would it be possible to cast me and Ninko in one of your movies to get like just killed or something?
I mean,
I wish you guys could see him right now. He's thinking it over. He's like considering it. He doesn't take any of this stuff lightly, because he's a mogul. I'm
more of a Kyle Long kind of guy.
Oh, he's a Kyle Long guy. Kyle Long would be great in one of your movies. Like, he was born to be.
That's my boy, bro.
I know, dude. You guys from way back, right? What was the story about Saddleback when he was at community college or JUCO out in Southern California in Mission Viejo?
Yeah, we both went to API, and you get this big ass ogre who's like 6'5", 315 pounds. Like, oh, so you're offensive lineman? He goes, no, I'm a pitcher. He's over here throwing. I'm like, what?
Excuse me?
I go, what's your name? He goes, oh, Kyle Long. I'm like, what are you, your Long son? He goes, yeah. I'm like, Chris Long's your brother? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. And he had insane feet. I remember his footwork was so good. When we do the ladder drill, you'd see this big ass 6'6", 315 pound dude just doing this ladder drill. Hella good, catching balls, fucking throwing and stuff. But we used to, I loved him. We had an instant vibe, and we connected, and it was just we were both young, and then he transitioned into football. I remember him with his career. And
he ended up at that JUCO down there. It was beautiful at Saddleback. Played football, got the bug. Like, all of a sudden, he got drafted by the White Sox. He was supposed to be a baseball player. Really talented guy. Really talented guy. The year I was there in New England, that was the year, and sometimes it's funny, I have to remind people. I'm like, yeah, it was the Atlanta year. Don't worry about it. You don't remember me? But the Atlanta year, what was so special about that year for you, besides just the comeback and how it ended?
16. That was the year that Tom was suspended, and we had to start off those 4 games without him. We went 3-1, and then like kind of we had to grease the machine, and then he came in and we started getting it going. And I don't know, that was a crazy year, man. Like I don't think we were supposed to do that. Were we?
I don't think so either, honestly, especially like when you get there. And from my perspective as a free agent, you're hedging, like you're pushing all your poker chips to the table to like try to win just 1 year. And you get there and Tom Brady gets suspended and you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, but that's almost like now in hindsight, like we need some adversity. Like after every kind of like gate or something, we ended up going in the Super Bowl. So like we need something. So
yeah, and the playoffs were pretty easy until, nothing's easy, but I had, like, for me, I was like, oh my God, first game in the playoffs. Oh, they're just beating the shit out of these guys. And then it was like, oh, Pittsburgh, no big deal. We actually got a bye week, which isn't the coolest thing in the world to practice for a week in January in New England.
Oh, you mean the blue and white game in snow? We had bye weeks for a long time when I was there for that first week. And like, we would have these scrimmages. And I remember one year we had I don't know if it was that year or 14. It must've been 14. There was a snowstorm and it was frozen over at the practice fields. And so it was, because it was cold, we had to go in the stadium, and half of the stadium was frozen. It was before they had the heated pipes under. And we're having a full-on blue and white scrimmage a week before the playoffs start. I'm talking like guys are like Braveheart out there. Like,
yeah, dude.
You know what I mean? Like we're splitting up teams, this, that. I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, when my first bye week in my life, 9 years into my career, I was like, could we have just like maybe squeaked in? I'm taking on double teams out here on Wednesday. I don't have any Toradol in me.
No, that's all they do, man.
You need that vitamin T. But the Super Bowl, though, I've always wondered this. And I never asked somebody this, actually, and this is perfect. What took y'all so long? What took us so long? I don't want to say y'all, the offense. I'm saying y'all were sputtering. We were getting gashed. I know what was happening on our side of the ball. What was happening on y'all's side of the ball?
Well, I remember going into that game, what Bill say? He said, at least to the offense, he said, we needed to score touchdowns when we get in the red area, and we need to convert third downs, and we cannot turn the ball over. That first drive, remember, LeGarrette, we were going into the red area and we fumbled. So, like, we were actually kind of driving.
Yeah.
You know, we were in that fringe, like that 40 to 35 range. I don't remember, like, specifically, but then we ended up fumbling. The next time, you know, we're sitting there. Now we're kind of clinched a little bit here. Little butthole punkerness.
The butt's got.
Yeah. You know, so then I think we went 3 and out. We had a manageable third down. We didn't do that. And then the next one we do a pick 6 or something. So, like, and we were in the red area. We were driving the ball. We just we weren't executing, bro. Like that's what it is. It's simple. Yeah. You know, it's lack of execution. And then, you know, we win the halftime, and all of a sudden, you know, we had a good, we were all pretty composed for the most part.
See, here's the funny part, and I always bring you up, is I'm like, Jules was like gung-ho, we're going to win this game, and I'm from a losing culture, and I'm like, 28, whatever we were down, I was like, y'all going to win this game? What? Can we just get a fucking stop, Duran? Like, Duran's like, this is going to be the greatest comeback of all time. And it wasn't until recently I saw you on an interview. It might have been part of my take or something. And you were like, I didn't know what the fuck to think. And I was like, oh, he really didn't believe it either. He was just like me.
Nah. I mean, the thing is,
I wish you could see him.
I've been in games where we've been behind a lot and we came back, bro. I don't care if it was a Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is always close, man.
Well, I wouldn't know. Little old me, I wouldn't know. Little old me gets the Super Bowl. I'm like, this is what it's like. It feels more like I got assaulted, dude.
Bro, those guys have never been in a Super Bowl. Like they were like I was a little nervous.
They blew their load.
I was a little nervous, but like if we would have like did well on those, we would have been fine because the defense really only gave up 7 points. We gave up the other 2 really in the grand scheme of things. So
you should have seen me and Nico coming out because we're both kind of negative.
Oh, kind of.
Oh, it's like stepbrothers is what you used to call us, but
yeah.
But Nico kept telling me before the game, I would have these long conversations. I was anxious about like not the game, like I don't give a fuck about football. I'm gonna go out there and play, but just the ramifications of the game in my life. And Nico was like, let me tell you something, man. It's the best feeling in the world to win a Super Bowl. It's as good as like XYZ. But there is no worse feeling in the world than losing a Super Bowl. You would rather go 0-16. And I can remember when he said that, I just froze, dude. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And all he had to do was look at me at halftime. And the look said it all. Remember what I said, motherfucker? I was just, it was so bad. And we didn't know really, I don't feel like the tide turned until almost the fourth quarter when High forced the fumble. We were still out of it.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, that's when I felt the shift in momentum is when we scored and then High stripped one. And then we were still down, 16 points?
It was a lot still. You look back and you're like, damn, it still wasn't. But you could see when they panned to the sideline on like NFL films and looked at like you or Tom, your halftime, let's go guys, turned into we're fucking in this. Like, it was like you guys lit up on the sideline and we're like, okay, we're definitely in range now. It was that play that High made.
Without a doubt. I mean, when the stars started aligning, and then the Trey had the sack after that.
Trey had a sack. Yep.
And then then the holding call, and all these things started happening. Once we tied it up, I knew we were winning. If we got the ball at overtime, it was over because like we were on that wavelength that by that time we had just climbed Mount Everest to get back into this game. And by no means are we letting this thing get out of our hands now because of what we did. And I would say that goes a lot, to in all the Super Bowls I've played, there's never like a comfortability, or there's never like a flow to the game. It's because of, the long timeouts, the 15 extra minute halftime, the 2 additional timeouts each half, or TV commercials. There's no real flow to the game. So like, the team that can find their flow usually is the team that goes out and has the most success. And we didn't have really necessarily any flow in that first half, but in the second half, guys were just starting to try to win each play, at least on offense. That's what I could say. We were trying to win one play at a time. Like, we knew a 60-yard touchdown is not going to bring us into this game. We were still down 3 scores.
Right.
You know what I mean? So once we got everyone and their mindset in that kind of mode, that's when we were like starting to, dink and dunk and, all right, let's pick this up. All right, now we got, and that's when they started going.
Well, you guys always had a scrappy offense, even before, I got to see that high-powered offense, really, though. But still, there's always an element of we're scratching, we're clawing, we have to sustain drives. And that's why, I think Bill's so hardcore on, I'm going to smack the shit out of that ball out of your hand at practice. I'm going to squirt water on the ball, all that crazy shit he does.
The silicone balls.
What about the silicone balls?
Well, he has these balls that he greases with silicone.
Is this the hot tub story?
No. There's like this, he puts this grease on these balls, and we have to do it's literally, you can't use gloves. Like, you can't pick up the ball. It's so slick.
Yeah.
Like, he's sitting there, you got coaches with freaking boxing gloves trying to take them out and stuff.
But trust is really big, and I feel like he has to trust people to put the trust is so hard to earn there and so easy to lose, and that's okay. What about your quarterback, Tom, who's like one of your best friends, but there's a business side to that relationship? And was there ever a time where momentarily the trust dipped below where the friendship was on the field and you had to earn it back?
I would say early, when I started playing a lot, like in 13 or 12, 2012, and those years, when I was trying to crack the lineup, that was a huge thing where if I didn't do something right, he wasn't going to look at me for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Then it was just going straight, Welker all day or anything. Every play that I had that was designed to go to me, I had to execute to an exact T. Or like you said, the trust is gone, and that's how he is. And at least when he was in New England, it was very hard to earn that, and he had to see it consistently through practice for him to actually feel that and be comfortable with giving you a little hint of trust, not even the full trust. But then as it went on to our career, later in my career, it was more of, we had such a routine on and off the field, in the off season, and learning each other, where I think that trust was, it was building even bigger and bigger through practices and compounding just through the years. So that was our relationship.
What were his biggest pet peeves, if you could share any?
His biggest pet peeve was if you didn't come flat to downhill, on outbreaking routes. That's why he hated or in cuts. If you didn't go flat to downhill, if guys rounded it and got undercut, and that was something that was always as a quarterback, I remember that, throwing to guys that if a guy didn't come flat to downhill, he's not protecting the throw. So I would come down on even an out route. I'd come down even 45 degrees and it almost looked like a comeback, but that's what he wanted because it made him feel safe to throw the ball. You know what I mean? It was those types of things that he would get really mad about, or stacking a guy on a out breaking or a seam or a seam or a 9 route, that stacking, giving him room, not getting pushed out of the side. He hated that. He would always get so mad, and he'd always want you to get into your route, get into your route. Yeah. Don't kill the ants at the line of scrimmage. Let's get into our route. I mean, the release game. Yeah. Well, let's get into the route and look when you're open. That was always a huge thing. there was a whole lot of things.
Was it like watching, like, I'm sure as you're watching him in Tampa, you don't have time to watch his games like that, but you probably catch a few.
I watched every single one.
Okay, there we go. All right. It was like watching an ex-girlfriend and you're like a little stalker-ish, or you're watching, like, you don't just like scroll the timeline every now and again. You're like 50 weeks deep liking photos.
I was hurt last year, so I was watching all the games.
I mean, so you're watching and like
he's got primetime games. This guy was on primetime every week.
I know he was. He was stacking them up. How about the Chicago game? What are you thinking watching that Chicago game when he's laying on the ground and Khalil Mack's just breathing on him?
I was thinking like that's gonna piss him off. You know what I mean?
He had one of the it was one of the worst drives that I've ever seen, like, period, and it wasn't his fault. There were like 5 penalties. Jensen had a penalty. There was another hold. Then he got sacked, and then they did something else, and then he forgot what down it was. And I was just like, his head is ready to explode. I've never seen him matter.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely tell.
What's it feel like to get yelled at by Tom? He's never yelled at me. I mean, I feel like he knows that, like, Chris is the defensive player, and quite personally, it's not that important. Like, I got to yell at Jules.
Yeah.
What's that feel like? He
used to get on me like an older brother, but I was the kind of guy that he could get on, because it was tough for him. When I was young, he used to get on me real hard because we had a connection with the Bay Area. We have the same representation with agents with Ian Dubin Sports, so like we had like kind of a little thing, but like I wasn't like a stud yet. So like, if I didn't do something exactly right, like he would like fully like, come on, Jules, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Like hit the high octave.
Mm-hmm.
But as I got older, he would yell at me, and I would kind of like yell back if it was like not like prohibited. Like if this wasn't meant to be yelled at, I'm like, bro, you can't yell at me for this. Like, but he used to like to yell at me because I think he couldn't yell at other guys because they would tank if they did.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's like, these guys have been watching him since they were like 2 years old. I was watching him since I was like 13. You know what I mean? Like, they would fully like tank and quit or get their feelings hurt if a guy like Tom Brady gets on you and just starts yelling at you. He's very good with who he could yell at and who he couldn't yell at.
Have you ever gotten a sorry about earlier, Bubs?
No, but he used to give me the, he'd get on me hard when I was young. I remember he goes, if I yell at you, I love you. And I'd be like, yeah. He'd be like, then I'd be like, you must really love me then, or something. You know what I mean? Because he yelled at me.
It's so true. It's so true, though.
Because I used to sit next to him before they broke. They separated us after like a few years because like they can't have too good of friends in class.
Yeah, dicking off in the front row, dude.
You know what I mean? So they it's like the classroom in 8th grade. We sit next to your boy. They'd put us on opposite ends. But I would sit there and I'd be all like beat down like a little puppy, like terrified, like I'm gonna get cut and stuff, like my first or second year. He would sit next to me. He goes, if I yell at you, buddy, that means I love you.
That's what I tell my son too.
Yeah.
What about when you're watching him this last year? The happiness that he exuded. It had nothing. I have not bit the cheese on this. Like, there's some big drama thing. Like, it's a 20-year relationship, okay? And sometimes you want to do something different. That doesn't mean you hate the last place, and it can be exhilarating. Novelty's cool. He's down in Tampa. He's showing a little more personality, which is like, yeah, Bill's got rules. You don't want to disrespect his rules. What was that like, seeing that side of him? Were you excited about it? Were you like kind of following along and like pointing at the TV? Like, that's like the Leo gif, like that's the Tom I know.
I was happy for him, but I seen that side of him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he's been, he was probably a little more reserved when he was here. He was also older, and it was, probably a little repetitive for him to go out, all right, win the Super Bowl, go to a parade, same place, same energy,
so dull.
You know what I mean? If you think about it, and then he goes to Miami or goes into Florida, I mean, it's different. So it's probably
this parade's on a boat.
Yeah.
I can throw the trophy over the canal.
Yeah. I mean, he do those fun types of things here. Just it wasn't as
broadcasted, right? Yeah.
Broadcasted,
Yeah, I guess then the question is, because I never hung around. You hang around Tom when he's at his best, and by best I mean like he's tanked, he's having fun, like, which is rare. So I hear. Is he a? We most people have only seen him getting escorted off the boat. What's the loose Tom like?
I mean, he's just like one of the other guys, man. He's competitive, wants to compete at everything. I mean, he's a fun guy to be around. He's like, he could chug a beer. The guy can chug a beer pretty fast. I'm telling you.
I've heard this actually.
Very fast. We had a because I could chug a beer pretty decent too, and we had a showdown over in Rochester, New York, when we got snowed in one time after clinching 2009 AFC East championship. We got snowed in. We couldn't stay in Buffalo, so they bussed us to Rochester. We went to Rochester. We went to this dinosaur barbecue, like with the whole team. We started drinking beers and stuff, and like we chugged, and he got me fair and square. So
ooh,
I had to give him my.
That's the fun part, though. When your teammates, like, the NFL is way different than college, where we all, like, we're going back to where we live. We all live together. Like, the NFL is like, you got this dude over here, this guy here. Like, I might not even know much about this guy on the other side of the locker room. But when you're all stuck somewhere, or you're all like snowed in or something, like, that's when you can all hang out. And some of the shittiest times yield the best, like, hangouts.
You know what? That's in 2014 when we went on our run. We lost to the Packers, and then we flew directly to San Diego. We had to San Diego the next week, and we stayed out there for a week. And like that, it's kind of like that bro time that, like you said, you don't get that as much because you got married men, you got your single men, you got your your religious guys, you got your guys that are trying to make the team, and there's different cliques, and they're never really together. You get the most togetherness is when, like, the night before the game, when everyone's eating wings or everyone's eating,
burgers,
food in front of the burgers or whatever. Everyone's eating. We're all sitting watching college football before meetings, so you get like an extended version of that. And that's where we molded our team that year. I remember specifically in those like practice trips where you go to another team and have those joint practices. Those were always fun to me because that's when you got to hang out with the guys the most, and you hang out with guys that you don't necessarily hang out with because they're married or they have family, or the kid guys. And, so like it's
the kid guys.
I became one.
How about you, since you became a kid guy? I mean, like, I was going to ask you earlier, I'm glad you brought this up. Was there a moment you knew you didn't want it anymore or you couldn't do it anymore physically? And I only asked, on the heels of the kid conversation, because for me, the minute kids came into the program, my patience for anything outside of them dropped.
Yeah. It definitely was a huge part of it, just because you want to be able to like think and be able to remember and be able to like run and
those things are nice.
Yeah. Chase your child. I know what I signed up for. You know what I mean? Like, we know what we signed up for.
You ever think about being an old man?
No, I haven't. But I've enjoyed so much of this life that we're doing right now. I don't really care. I think we're good. I think that, you know what I mean? No, but that was a huge part of it, being able to go out and be an active father. Like, I had an active father. And, you're like you said, when you have a child, your priorities shift. Like every decision that I used to make was like I had tattoo of New England Patriots on my forehead for like the last 8 years. And then when I had my kid, it was like, all right, now every decision I make is like, is this going to be kosher with this? Are we good here? All right, is my kid going to be straight? You know what I mean? Everything's about her now. Like, your priorities shift. So, it definitely weighed into that for sure, to be able to go out and enjoy life, because we still have like another 40, 50 years here, I think.
Maybe more, man. Technology, the way it's going.
I know. With the little thing they're putting in the back of the neck with Elon Musk and stuff.
Yeah, I don't even try to keep up with all that shit. I'm anti-robot, dude.
Dude, AI is coming.
Yeah, it's going to be coming all over our society, ruining it. Let me ask you this, because you've always been very high strung. Like, you got a lot of energy. Like, I just, the sitting still part of it. You said inside the NFL. I think you're going to do great on that. It's going to be awesome. Well, one thing is I wonder, are you going to be able to talk about the Patriots freely? That's one interesting one. From talking to Ninko about being on TV, it's hard sometimes to balance that. And he tries to do it just head on, but it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give my takes, man. I've earned my stripes. I'm good.
Hey, Bill's going to take away your little come back to practice pass if you give the wrong take.
Yo, bro, hey, I've sacrificed my life for that guy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell it in how it is.
Yeah.
I got confidence in coach, and I'll always be fair.
So could you ever coach was the question I was going to ask.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
So. Yeah.
I put 14 hours a day in as a player.
Yeah.
Then you see coaches that put it in probably another 5 hours.
Yeah.
And don't when you go and you're leaving the facility and you're seeing the coach in the parking lot with his family in his car who had to come see him at his little like dinner break before they go have like 9 o'clock.
That shit is really
like, I'm seeing guys playing catch with their kids in the parking lot.
Drive-through visits.
Drive-through visits. I mean, that I can't do that. I mean, and that tells you, and that's why you tip your hat to guys.
Yeah.
At our, in New England that have put in so much time. Those coaches, they do a lot of that. And I know it's not like that everywhere, but the fact that I have that in my head that some group is doing that, then I wouldn't be able to sleep if I was on another coaching staff and having to like, all right, we're not really doing that much like here, like, because I've heard how it is in certain places where it's different here and there. That, and then also another factor is, I mean, it's the young guys are crazy. These young dudes, like coaching these guys, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Like I've been in the room as an older guy watching. It's a different generation.
What do you think they don't get? I saw you on Deezus and Mero talking to them about this.
Yeah.
Like the whole, I catch some of your shit.
Yeah.
I follow you a little bit, Jules.
I listen to the Blue Light podcast.
Blue
dude.
Light, fuck you. Hey, hey, what's up with the young kids that you notice a big? Because I think skill guys are the most different. I think D linemen are frozen in time. Like we just are what we are. Like we're fucking nuts, But the skill guys are different now. So what is it?
Well, I think it's because there's so many. These kids have been on platforms since they were like born now.
Yeah.
And you got a kid who did an insane backflip catch in high school and went viral with it. And he comes in, and then he goes to college and he gets a little more clout. And then he comes into the league and he thinks he's like, there's a lot of that going on. There's a sense of, and it's like that with every old generation talking about every new generation, I'm sure. But like, it's just a different shape of guy. It's a different type of guy. I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to explain.
It's hard for me to explain without shitting on this generation.
Yeah, and I'm not even trying to, because there's some dudes that are
because there are some real guys that come out and you're like, man, this guy's a throwback. But it's all kind of what you grew up with. I'm sure there were guys that, pre-CBA guys from like, did you come in after that CBA?
Yeah, no, before.
So you came in, you were like a year before, 2 years. Yeah, so like before that lockout in 2011, things were different. Things were different. There were more vets. There were more like OGs. There was a different vibe in locker rooms. You said people staring at their phones. Like it just was it's a different world, and same thing in locker rooms.
Yeah, it's just the learning style and like the type of like the game that's changing, because I mean, whatever they do in college, it always evolves to coming to the NFL.
Yep.
I mean, we're seeing that literally, with the type of quarterbacks that are, how the evolution of the quarterbacks going right now, and the spreading out of everyone. I mean, so it's just the way these guys are learning. Everything's one word this. Now it's all high speed. Now that like I mean, I'm not used to that. And like now it's these guys, people like front on them like, yo, you need to stop this. You need to stop that. Like that is literally Cam's just a fun dude that works his ass off, that likes to play football, had a lot of success. And he's just grinding away. He's swagged out. That's what Cam does. You know what I mean? And I learned that firsthand. Like, I'm like a hard dick, in the locker room. And to have a hard ass.
Damn, dude, that was hard. That was it. I'm just joking.
I have multiple like different types, like, yo, I'm a serious guy. I like to joke around here and that, but like having Cam and seeing a different way to do and approach the game was very cool and interesting, and I enjoyed it,
And guys
Like,
were receptive to it because you could see like dudes that their favorite dude they ever played with was Tom. It's not about comparing two guys. And honestly, like there were rough spots, but you still like everybody loved him. It just looked like that. And I just really respected the way he stood tall after losses. Like that was the thing for me that I was like, I know how hard it is up there, dude. And you know what I mean?
Accountable guy. Like Cam is an accountable guy. He works his tail off. He gets in there super early, leaves super late. I mean, he lives, breathes, and dies ball, man. And that's what you want to see from that position. And regardless of, the outcomes of games, you knew you were going to get, the best out of him. And you were going to, he was working hard to get to where he wanted to go. And I tell you right now, the guy's charming. He's a very charming guy.
Yeah.
When his interpersonal like communication skills are like awesome as a leader. He knows how to charm you and certain. You know what I mean? Like
make guys feel better probably on days they're feeling
better.
shitty, and
these guys feel better, and he talks with everyone. You know what I mean? He's a cool dude that I thought it was hard for that. That was a tough situation to jump into with the amount of time that he had to do it. So I think that was it's unfair to really go in and evaluate Cam Newton as a player with the amount of variables that everyone had last year.
Yeah.
Not with just, being signed like a week before camp, which, this is calculus, this offense. This is nothing like, all right, we're just going to do this and this, you know what I mean? So that was an uphill battle for anyone. And then also, the fact of, all the regulations with the COVID, this, that, like there was no like real routine that anyone really could get into.
The Kansas City game.
We flew on the same day of the game, bro.
How tight were you?
I couldn't walk.
Bro, like I don't think people realize you can't sit in high school. These are 30-something-year-old men. Their bodies don't feel the same as you. You can't just hop on a bus and just show up and play. I mean,
on a bus, maybe. A bus, maybe.
But not on a bus to a plane and then a bus to Arrowhead, which is like another hour and a half. They fucked that whole airport situation up.
That was crazy. That's when I started thinking, like, yo, I don't know if I can.
That might have been the moment, huh? There we go. That was the moment. Julian Edelman knew he was done in Kansas City because this is just so crazy last year.
I mean, what are we doing? Like, I'm 34 years old. I don't have any cartilage in my knee, and you guys expect me to get off this plane, strap them up, and go play against champs.
Moses was like, "Hey, just get some squats in, Jules."
So we didn't know when we were leaving, and we couldn't go to the facility for a certain amount of days, and I had to like keep my knee moving. So I had to go out to freaking the Esplanade over in Boston. There's like these two fields, and I had to like jog on Saturday because we didn't have, or Sunday because they postponed the game. I'm over here in my cleats jogging in public over at Boston Common, like
such a douchebag. Like people are like Julian Edelman, like they definitely 100%. Have a facility. He's just out here to like he's a thirst trap.
There was no one even out because.
Did you have your shirt off? Did you take your shirt off?
No, it was freezing.
Well, that never stopped you before. I would too if I was jacked.
Do you have my mask still?
I don't have your mask. I lost the Julian Edelman mask, sadly, somewhere in that crowd at that parade, which was just one of my favorite days of my life.
That parade was fun parade.
The mask. Whoever's out there has got the mask, we'll put a sizable reward on that. Julian Edelman, amazing career, man. I think people should give you your flowers, and I didn't get a chance to speak to you after your living funeral. One of the most competitive people that I've ever gotten a chance to play with. I appreciate you, man. Great teammate, great friend. Good luck in the next chapter. Come back soon, okay?
All right, bro. I appreciate having me, and those feelings are very mutual. And on a side note, can you text me Kyle's number?
You got it because you put him in the movie.
Yeah, I'm going to put him in.